The United States District Court for the Central District of Illinois is now in session. Judge Richard Mills and Magistrate Judge Karen McNaught presiding. All persons having business before this honorable court are admonished to draw nigh and be attentive, for this court is now in session and respectful silence is commanded. God save the United States of America and the honorable court. Be seated and come to order.
Thank you, Judge Holmes, and the members of the Lawyers' Chorus for the wonderful addition that you make to the citizenship ceremony. I will now ask our Chief Deputy Clerk of the United States District Court for the official opening of court.
The United States District Court for the Central District of Illinois is now in session. Judge Richard Mills and Magistrate Judge Karen McNaught presiding. All persons having business before this honorable court are admonished to draw nigh and be attentive, for this court is now in session and respectful silence is commanded. God save the United States of America and this honorable court. Be seated and come to order.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. For the 71st time, we gather for a naturalization ceremony in the very room of the Illinois Old State Capitol building where Abraham Lincoln gave his renowned House Divided speech in 1858. Today we welcome 61 new United States citizens from 24 different countries around the globe who have chosen our country over all the other 194 in the world in which to live, work, and raise their families. We are honored. All of us in this great land originated elsewhere. All of our ancestors had their roots in other soil. I will ask Judge McNaught to tell you about President Lincoln's roots.
Thank you, Judge Mills. Old English records reflect that Abraham Lincoln's ancestors originated in the early 1500s with Robert Lincoln of Hingham in the county of Norfolk, England. According to Kenneth J. Winkle's book entitled The Young Eagle, The Rise of Abraham Lincoln, which was published in 2001, the Lincoln family's American journey began with Samuel Lincoln, the future president's great-great-great-great-grandfather. Winkle further tells us that the American Lincoln line began in 1637 with 3 Lincoln brothers who emigrated from Hingham, England, and settled in Hingham, Massachusetts. In England, the 1630s witnessed a deep depression in East Anglia and the West Country, especially among linen weavers, as well as a growing persecution of Puritan religious dissenters. The result was the Great Migration, during which thousands of East Anglians fled England to Massachusetts. A veritable stream of Lincolns made the journey from the old Hingham in East Anglia to the new Hingham in America, where they flourished. By the 1680s, 60 Lincolns lived in the town. In fact, 1/4 of the townspeople were named Lincoln. One of the Lincoln brothers, Samuel, who was a weaver's apprentice, disembarked at age 18 to establish the American Lincoln line that led 6 generations later to Abraham. I will turn the podium back to Judge Mills to continue the Lincoln legend.
Thank you, Judge McNaught. You know, Abraham Lincoln was no stranger to this splendid old state capitol building. He and 8 of his legislative colleagues were primarily responsible for the seat of the Illinois state capitol being moved from Vandalia to Springfield in 1837. There he drew pay warrants in the auditor's office, and here he researched election returns in the Secretary of State's office and used both the state library and the Supreme Court library to prepare speeches and legal briefs. Attorney Lincoln performed some of the most important and precedent-setting legal work in the state Supreme Court, pleading at least 243 cases in the Illinois Supreme Court's chambers right here on the first floor of this building. This old state capitol also played an important role in Lincoln's rise to political prominence. He was completing his fourth and final term in the state legislature, the House of Representatives, convened for the first time on December the 7th of 1840. Lincoln served there until the session closed the following March. The hall later became the site of several important Lincoln speeches associated with the formation of the Republican Party and his emergence as a national political figure. On June the 16th of 1858, Lincoln began his campaign for the United States Senate against Stephen Douglas by delivering his memorable House Divided speech to the Republican State Convention meeting in this hall. He lost that election, but the speech and the campaign attracted national attention, helping to set the stage for his 1860 presidential election. Following his nomination as a presidential candidate in May of 1860, Lincoln moved into the governor's office on the second floor, and there he received a steady stream of well-wishers throughout the campaign and in the weeks following the election. The morning of February the 11th, 1861, was the time of departure. Lincoln and his family arrived early at the Little Brook Station, where a throng of at least 1,000 of his neighbors and friends had gathered to bid him goodbye. It was a cloudy, stormy morning with a cold drizzle of rain falling. The bell gave the signal, but as the conductor paused with his hand lifted to the bell rope, Lincoln appeared on the back platform of the car and raised his hand for silence. The people bared their heads to the soft drizzle of the rain, and standing thus, his friends and neighbors heard his voice for the last time. My friends, no one, not in my situation, can appreciate my feeling of sadness at this parting. To this place and the kindness of these people, I owe everything. Here I have lived a quarter of a century and have passed from a young to an old man. Here my children have been born and one is buried. I now leave not knowing when or whether ever I may return, with a task before me greater than that which rested upon Washington. Without the assistance of that divine being, whoever attended him, I cannot succeed. With that assistance, I cannot fail. Trusting in him who can go with me and remain with you and be everywhere for good. Let us confidently hope that all will yet be well. To his care, commending you, as I hope in your prayers you will commend me, I bid you an affectionate farewell. The train started, rolled away, and the mist closed about it, hiding him from the sight of his weeping fellow townsmen. The years of preparation were ended, and the time of fulfillment had come. Abraham Lincoln, as Commander-in-Chief, then guided this nation through 4 terrible years, held the Union intact, and then paid the supreme sacrifice. 4 years and 3 months after he left Springfield by train, only 3 blocks from here, and bid farewell to his friends and neighbors, his coffin returned by train to the same station. On May 3 and 4 of 1865, his body lay in an open casket on a velvet-covered catafalque, 1 block from here, as a crowd estimated at 75,000 filed past to pay their last respects. Our 16th president was then laid to rest here in his beloved Springfield. We are here now, 157 years later, in the shadow of his tomb, close by the only home that he ever owned, and in his constant presence to welcome these new 61 citizens from 24 countries. Our nation is nothing more than the sum total of our own decency and our own love for it. As we welcome you to our midst, we should all remember Mr. Lincoln's words when he said, "Let us at all times remember that all American citizens are brothers of common country and should dwell together in bonds of fraternal feeling." The oath of citizenship will be administered after the court recognizes a motion that is made by Immigration Services Director, District Director Marash McDevuki.
May it please the court. Your Honor, on behalf of the Department of Homeland Security, I present to you 61 candidates from 24 countries who have applied to become citizens of the United States. Each of the candidates has been interviewed by an officer of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, and unless exempted by the law, has demonstrated the ability to read, write, and speak words in the English language. In addition, each has demonstrated his or her knowledge and understanding of the history and the principles and form of government of the United States. Therefore, Your Honor, I recommend that these candidates be administered the oath of allegiance, thereby administering them and admitting them to United States citizenship.
Thank you, sir. And certainly, this court takes great pleasure in allowing the motion and will ask the clerk of the court to administer the oath of citizenship.
Stand, please. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law, that I will perform non-combative service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, that I will perform work of national importance under civil direction when required by law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Be seated.
I will ask Judge McNaught to join me in the presentation of the certificates of citizenship as your name is called. As the preliminaries have been all taken care of and the motion made and allowed, I think that at this time, while they're all together seated in one spot, we should have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Fine. Will all those new citizens rise and join me in pledging allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Jesse? Did she hand you the certificates to them? Okay, perfect. All right, perfect. That'd be great. Thank you.
Priyalatha Garentla.
It's out of order. Oh, shoot. Yours go.
Simon Okbazgi. Aaron Iyer. Aishwarya Iyer. Svetlana Hull. Ketya McCullough. Sarthak Patipati. Sai Patipati. Zoe Dyer. Anu Maitu. Sylvie Maba Mbemba. Sophia Troxell. Harita Yapuri. Gilberto Medina. Amita Ben Patel. Anthony Park. Corazon Rakia. Emmanuel Hernandez. Sylvain Lobo. Marguerite Lobo. Usha Padintili Valarapalli. Julia Yuching Lee. Rosangela Folman Rosa. Orion Anibal Herrera. Jizet Ade Benjamin, Helen Seng, Amalia Ruiz Velasquez, Bernabe Fabila, Jeanette Martinez, Masa Kiani, Martha Castro, Devine Jamanica, Leticia Rivera, Mava Hughes, Ghana Merritt, Raquel Dewan, Dina Deloa, Rakita Paranjape, Jamil Batista Pardo, Maureen Michindu Kwete, Serge Chiofo, Samuel Paulos, Eve Duman, Lucy Trunk, Priscille Levy, Tui Cao, Con Tran, Jayanne Castillo, Merlet Ngengi, Marina Catalano, Hayer Hamad, Pascal Kabanga Kadima, Benedict Mulumba Yenyi, Nancy Alcala,
Okay, so that's the last.
Let's all give a round of applause.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our dignitaries that we have in our audience. From Senator Durbin's office, we have Senate Aide Daniel Bien and interns Colin Kerr and Emily Earle. From Senator Duckworth's office, we have Randy Sikowski, who is the Downstate Director. From Representative Darren LaHood's office, we have Joe Roberts. Oh, stand up. From the city of Springfield, we have our own mayor, James Langfelder. And is Juan Huerta with us? He's Springfield's Community Relations Director. From the Sartoma Club of Springfield, who supplied the freedom documents in your packets, we have Mr. Mark Hansen. Somewhere in the back? From the Springfield Commission on International Visitors, who supplied the welcome packets, we have Janet Kenny and Pilar Mayorga. From Lincoln Land Community College, we have Sue Alexander, who is the English as a Second Language Coordinator. And Jamil Steele, who is the Director of Adult Education. We would also like to acknowledge the Sangamon County Circuit Clerk, Paul Palazzolo, for supplying applications for passports, the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum, who supplied free museum admission vouchers, and I strongly suggest that you use those vouchers. From the Roman Cultural Society of Central Illinois, they supplied the flag pins, and Justin Blandford and Troy Gilmore here at the Historic Preservation Agency, who helped make this ceremony possible in this facility. After the ceremony, the Social Security Administration will be here to update citizen status, and Jack Myers, who is the Public Affairs Specialist, will be here. And we also have a representative from the Sangamon County Election Office to help you register to vote, if that is something that they can help you do. Judge Mills?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Judge McNaught.
Would you like to invite the choir to sing?
Yes. For many years now, the Springfield Lawyers Chorus, under the direction of Judge Holmes, has added immeasurably to this proceeding of administration of the oath of citizenship. And I want you all to know that the court is deeply gratified and has been for all of these years of yeoman work in addition to this ceremony. And now I'll turn the floor over to Judge Holmes and for the selection of moving patriotic numbers.
Thank you, Judge Mills. Judge Mills has recently announced his retirement, I guess I can say that in public, which takes me back to a day in 1987 when he took a young lawyer aside. That was me in 1987. And said, Roger, would you put together a chorus of singing lawyers for the naturalization ceremonies? My initial reaction was, I am a drummer. I don't know about choruses, but the words that came out of my mouth, because I was being addressed by the federal judge, was, yes, sir, we will. And we did. And every naturalization ceremony since 1987, we've had the honor and privilege perform for our new citizens. Thank Judge Mills for starting that opportunity. We have the best seat in the House because throughout the ceremony we are facing your wonderful, inquisitive faces that have come to our country, come from a land far away. And I thought as we did our 10th year and our 20th year and our 30th year, maybe I would become jaded, but to the contrary, it's meant more to me and to my colleagues each and every time. So that being said, our final selection is a piece of patriotic music that is beloved to our citizens, and it was written by a naturalized citizen in gratitude for his trip to the United States and becoming a citizen. The song is God Bless America, and the composer is Irving Berlin.
Before Judge Mills closes court, I want to let all of you know how blessed you are to be the last class that is made citizens of this country under the guise of Judge Mills. So please help me say thank you for all of your years of service, Judge Mills, and we want you to come back often.
Thank you very much. The eminent United States Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes was fond of saying, "We live by symbols." So in every courtroom, there is a prescribed degree of decorum and certain symbols that reflect the great heritage of our system of justice. As a judge ascends the bench, all in the courtroom will stand, reminding us of the biblical reference to standing when a judge enters the tribunal. The robe is a carryover from the ecclesiastical courts and was retained after the severance of the sacred from the secular. He or she is called Your Honor to remind each of us of our own. And the judge has at hand the gavel, the symbol of legal authority to preside. But most importantly, there will always be in the courtroom the flag of our country to constantly remind us of the great heritage of democracy and justice that this nation enjoys, and to charge the judge with fulfilling with honesty and pride and integrity the role that he or she plays in this hall of justice. Everyone will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag as the final act of this wonderful ceremony. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, this court is adjourned.
Court adjourned.
Dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets ready there, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof to the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.